In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the SteelSeries Arctis Nova 4, which is SteelSeries' new entry-level wireless headset. It works with PC, Mac, Switch, mobile devices, and Xbox, and at $119 US or $249 Australian, they're a fair bit cheaper than the Nova 7. Actually, here in Australia, they work out to be $150 cheaper, which is guaranteed to raise a few eyebrows because they're functionally very similar. Now, this headset is aimed at someone who wants a good wireless solution but doesn't need a ton of features. And while the Nova 4 is lighter on features, it's not dramatically different to the Nova 7, and for some people I think it's actually a better choice. I've been using them as my daily driver for a couple of weeks now, and there's a lot to like about the Nova 4. That said, there's some pretty stiff competition in this price range, so along with discussing the features, comfort, and compatibility, I'm going to let you know how it stacks up against its peers. First, let's quickly round up the features. The maximum battery life is 36 hours, which is only slightly less than the Nova 7. This isn't the biggest headset battery on the market, not by a long shot, but it's about average at this price point, and it completely crushes the 15 hours you get on the Astro A20s. It has the same rapid charge feature that you'll find on the Nova 7, giving you 6 hours off a 15-minute charge. Weight-wise, these come in at 262 grams. This isn't the lightest wireless headset on the market, but it's still incredibly light, and if weight is a major concern, then the Nova 4 is definitely worth considering. For reference, the A20 comes in at 318 grams, and the Turtle Beach Stealth 600 Gen 2 Max comes in at 297 grams. Wireless is handled by a 2.4 GHz signal that has about a 10-meter range. The connection within this range remains solid, but like all 2.4 GHz signals, introducing walls reduces the range. This doesn't have Bluetooth, so if you plan on using it with a phone, you'll need to use the dongle. That means iPhone users are out of luck. I did try using an adapter, but no dice. You can use them while charging the battery, but they don't receive audio from the USB cable. It also doesn't have a 3.5mm audio jack, which means they're 100% wireless and will only work when powered on. This might be a deal breaker for some, and there are wireless headsets in this price range, like the JBL Quantum 610, that do work with a wire. Now, just like the Nova 7, there are 3 versions of the Nova 4. This is important, so pay attention. They all work wirelessly with PC, Mac, PlayStation, Android phones, and the Switch in both docked and portable modes. If you're on Xbox though, you'll need to get the Nova 4X, and this is the version I have here. I've only seen the 4X so far, but if the Nova 4P, which is the PlayStation version, is anything like the Nova 7P, then it'll have a side tone dial instead of a game and chat mix dial. If you don't care about having a side tone dial, you can use the regular Nova 4 or 4X on a PlayStation. The game and chat mix dial here just doesn't do anything. Side tone is what lets you hear your own voice through the headset when speaking into the microphone, and you can adjust this in the system settings on the PS4 and PS5, so you don't really need a dial. All 3 versions have the same recommended retail price, so basically you should just get the 4X unless you're on PlayStation and really want a side tone dial or a white coloured headset. Now, if SteelSeries could figure out how to make this dial remappable like you can on the Turtle Beach Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max, I reckon that would save a lot of people a lot of confusion. If you're familiar with the rest of the Arctis Nova range, then you already know how lightweight and comfortable this headset is. The design and layout of the controls is almost a one-to-one match of the Nova 3. On the right ear cup you have the chat mix dial and the power button, and on the left ear cup you've got the volume dial, the mic, and the mute button. The volume and chat mix dials are the same size that you'll find on the Nova 3. I prefer the larger style on the Nova 7, but in practice I haven't had any issues with these smaller dials. They have a nice amount of resistance, making both large and small adjustments easy, and despite being smaller, they're still easy to find. The headband is the same plastic construction with the same yoke design as you'll find on the Nova 3. It's extendable, it has an adjustable headband, and overall it's incredibly comfortable. 262 grams feels like wearing nothing, especially when compared to the Nova 7. If you normally find wireless headsets to be uncomfortable because of their weight, this is much more in line with a standard headphone, such as my trusty HD 560Ss. And when talking about comfort and wearability, the Nova 4 has the upper hand against the Nova 7. Now, you get ear cups that rotate 180 degrees, so if you're the type of person who prefers to wear them around your neck rather than taking them off, these have got you covered. The ear cup depth is 25mm, which is slightly deeper than the Nova 3 and Nova 7. The ear cushions are the same Airweave memory foam you'll find on the Nova 3 and 7, and they breathe pretty well. If you want to swap them out though, the pads are compatible with the rest of the Nova range, which means third-party solutions like Wicked cushions are an option. One thing that I was disappointed to see that hasn't changed is the size of the dongle. This thing is goddamn huge and is likely to block any nearby ports. So if you're on a PS5 for example, you can kiss your front-facing USB port goodbye. And on a USB hub it can potentially block 2 ports if you don't stick it at the end. Finally, the Nova 4 doesn't have any lights, apart from the red LED on the mic to let you know it's muted. The brightness of this can be controlled using the software, which I'll cover shortly. Sound is one area where I feel the Nova 4 is an obvious step down from the Nova 7. Out of the box, these sound detailed, but they're completely lacking any kind of sub-bass. The mid-bass is kind of muffled as well. It's also incredibly quiet when using them with a PC or a Mac. I had to crank the volume all the way up, which I haven't needed to do with any other headset so far. I didn't have the same problem when connected to a console though, so not exactly sure what's going on here. Hopefully this is something that can be fixed with a firmware update. So yeah, they don't sound fantastic in their default configuration. Thankfully you can sync them up with the Sonar software, allowing you to play around with the parametric EQ settings. These settings will save to the headset too, letting you use your preset of choice or a custom EQ on a console or a phone. As usual, you'll need to do this on a PC. The GG software on a Mac wouldn't even see the headset to do a basic firmware update. Now, as far as the EQ settings go, the bass presets seem like the obvious choice, but that took it way too far in the opposite direction. The sub-bass just sounded muddy and overwhelmed everything else. I ended up using the Smiley preset as a starting point and created my own custom EQ. This ended up sounding pretty good for games, although it's less impressive for music. I still think for the money it sounds good overall, imaging is decent and the sound has depth, but going back and forth between the Nova 7, there's a clear difference in resolution. And beyond the additional features, you can tell why the Nova 7 costs so much more. As far as I can tell, this is the same mic that's on the Nova 3 and the Nova 7, and this is what you're listening to now without any post-processing. It's not a bad mic for a headset, and if you use it with the Sonar software, you also get AI noise cancelling to remove background noise. The mic is easy to position and it retracts into the headset when not in use. There are better mics out there, but not significantly so, especially in the entry-level wireless category. What I like about this headset the most is just how damn light and comfy they are. As someone who moves around a lot during the day, they're perfect because you barely register that you're wearing them. It might not sound quite as good as the more expensive models, and compatibility-wise you don't have the luxury of Bluetooth or the flexibility of a 3.5mm cable. But if you've got a USB-C input, then the Nova 4, and specifically the 4X, connects to just about everything. And at $150 Australian cheaper than the Nova 7, for what is arguably a similar experience, I think its shortcomings are easy enough to overlook. If you're after a good first wireless headset, or maybe you're looking to upgrade from the Nova 3, this is a no-brainer.